There is a brutal truth that ruins a lot of people's lives long before they admit it. They still think someone is coming, not literally, but deep down, they are waiting for life to calm down, waiting to feel ready, waiting for confidence, waiting for the right moment, waiting for some opportunity, some person, some breakthrough, some version of themselves to finally appear and pull them out of the hole they keep sinking in. And while they wait, nothing changes. That is how people lose years. Not always through disaster. Sometimes through delay that becomes a lifestyle. That is why nobody is coming to save you. Sounds harsh to some people, but it is not harsh. It is clarifying. Because once that illusion dies, you start seeing your life properly. You stop calling avoidance overthinking. You stop calling fear being careful. You stop calling procrastination needing more time. You stop calling drift trusting the process. You see it for what it is. You are stuck. And a lot of people stay stuck for one reason. They are waiting for internal permission to do what they already know needs to be done. That is the trap. Not laziness, not lack of talent, not lack of ideas. Waiting to feel different before living different. And that is where life punishes people quietly. Because life does not care that you meant well. It responds to what you repeat. Your habits repeat, so your outcomes repeat. Your avoidance repeats, so your problems repeat. Your excuses repeat, so your future repeats. That is why some people look up one day and realize 5 years have passed and almost nothing meaningful has changed. Same patterns, same money problems, same broken self-promises, same half-built ideas, same emotional cycles, same private disappointment, just older. That is one of the most unsettling things about adulthood. You can waste an unbelievable amount of life without ever having a dramatic collapse. You can just slowly become someone you did not mean to become. A little softer than you should be, a little more distracted, a little more avoidant, a little more comfortable with things that are quietly ruining you. And the whole time part of you is still expecting rescue. A better job will fix it. A relationship will fix it. More money will fix it. A better season will fix it. The new year will fix it. Monday will fix it. No, it usually does not work like that. Because if your habits are weak, more opportunity often just gives weakness more room to spread. If you are undisciplined with a little, you will usually be undisciplined with more. If you avoid small truths, you will avoid bigger ones too. If you cannot manage yourself now, a new environment will not magically save you. People want fresh circumstances without becoming a different person inside them. That is why they keep looping. Same life, different wallpaper. And this is where most self-help gets annoying. It tells people to believe in themselves. That sounds nice. But belief is not the main issue for a lot of people. A lot of people do believe they are capable of more. That is not the problem. The problem is they do not trust themselves to follow through. And that is a completely different issue. Confidence is cheap when it has no evidence behind it. That is why some people talk like they're about to change their life, but deep down they know they probably will not. They have heard themselves too many times. Too many promises. Too many restarts. Too many "this time is different" speeches to themselves. So now even their own mind does not fully buy it anymore. That is what repeated self-betrayal does. It weakens your relationship with yourself. And once that happens, life gets heavier. Because now, it is not just that you have problems. It is that you no longer fully trust the person responsible for solving them. That is a dangerous place to live. And no one talks about how common it is. People think their issue is motivation. It is not. The deeper issue is often that they have built a pattern of not doing what they said they would do. And patterns become identity. Do something once, it is a moment. Do it for long enough, it becomes your character. That is why this sentence matters so much. Nobody is coming to save you. Because hidden inside it is another truth. You are the one who has been leaving yourself here. Not in every way, not in a cruel, simplistic way. Life is real. Pressure is real. Pain is real. Some people have been hit harder than others. That matters. But still, there comes a point where the question changes. It stops being, what happened to me? And becomes, what am I going to do with what happened to me? That is the line. That is where adulthood begins for real. Not when you get older. Not when you get a job. Not when people start calling you mature. When you stop building your life around waiting. When you accept that nobody is going to come and drag you into discipline. Nobody is going to force you into honesty. Nobody is going to build your structure for you. Nobody is going to protect your time for you. Nobody is going to make you face the thing you keep avoiding. And honestly, that should wake people up. Because a lot of what people call being stuck is actually being unwilling to face something clearly. The spending, the drinking, the distraction, the weak routine, the dead relationship, the unfinished work, the fear dressed up as perfectionism, the laziness dressed up as burnout, the indecision dressed up as keeping options open. At some point, the costumes have to come off. You have to call the thing what it is. That is where your power starts returning. Not when everything gets easier. When you stop lying to yourself first. That is why the sentence feels so sharp. Nobody is coming to save you. Good. That means there is no one left to wait for. No fantasy rescue. No magical timing. No external permission slip. Just reality. And reality is useful. Because reality forces cleaner questions. Not how do I feel about changing my life. But what am I doing today that is keeping my life the same? Not what is my big dream. But what is my daily standard? Not what do I want eventually. But what do my habits prove I actually want now? Those are harder questions. They leave less room for performance. And that is another thing people hate. Most real change is embarrassingly unglamorous. It is not some cinematic breakthrough. It is not a perfect routine. It is not waking up transformed. It is repetition. Boring, quiet, necessary repetition. Getting up when you said you would. Checking the numbers instead of avoiding them. Sending the email. Doing the work before your mood improves. Finishing the task. Saying no sooner. Leaving earlier. Stopping the scroll. Taking the walk. Closing the tab. Keeping the promise. Coming back the next day. That is all. And it sounds too ordinary for people who are addicted to dramatic change. But ordinary things repeated long enough alter a life completely. That is what people underestimate. They are looking for a breakthrough, while their real salvation is hidden in structure. Not excitement, structure. Not inspiration, structure. Not feeling locked in, structure. Because when your life is built on mood, your mood becomes your master, and mood is unstable. That is why so many people live in cycles. They act when they feel strong. They disappear when they feel low. They restart when they feel guilty. They quit when it gets repetitive. And then they wonder why nothing holds. Nothing holds because they do not. That is the hard part. You do not need a better plan as much as you need to become someone who can hold a plan. That is different. That takes character. And character is not built in public. It is built in the small private moments where you either do what you said or you do not. That is where people are made. Not in speeches, not in captions, Not in those nights where you feel inspired enough to imagine a better version of yourself. In the quiet decisions, the ones nobody sees, the ones that slowly teach your mind, I can rely on me. That may be the deepest reason this matters. Because when nobody is coming, you either become more reliable to yourself, or you become more disappointing to yourself. And one of those paths leads somewhere. The other just gets louder inside your head. So no, this is not a motivational message. It is a warning. If you keep waiting, life will keep moving without your permission. Your body will change. Your time will go. Your mind will harden around your habits. Your excuses will get smarter. And the gap between who you could be and who you are will start feeling unbearable. That is what regret often is, not failure. Abandonment. The feeling of knowing you kept leaving yourself in the same place while hoping something outside you would intervene. So if this hits something in you, let it hit properly. Nobody is coming to save you. Not your ideal future self, not some burst of motivation, not a better season, not luck, not timing. You. It has to be you. Your honesty, your standards, your discipline, your next decision, your next hour, your next repeated action. That is where your life changes. Not when you finally feel ready, when you stop needing rescue to begin.